Cedar Point, the roller coaster capital of the world, America's rock and roller coaster, the best amusement park in the world, the amazement park, the point, or whatever you want to call it. This place is the mecca for coaster junkies and we flock here in droves. But this place is more than just coasters. It's a full destination park for the family. I've been visiting for a decade now, so today we will reflect on those 10 years worth of visits to the point, the epic awesome days, and the polarizing day of 2020. So here's my take on Cedar Point, America's rock and roller coaster. First off, this video will be released in two parts. The first part will be reflecting on my overall experiences with the park, hotels, water park, and other attractions that make Cedar Point a destination. In part 2, I'll dive into and look at each of the coasters of the park, so keep a lookout for that video in the future. Okay, so for the people who don't know, Cedar Point is located in Sandusky, Ohio, between Cleveland and Toledo, and is on the Cedar Point Peninsula on the shores of Lake Erie. This gives the park a setting like no other, right on the lake, with amazing views on every ride. This can also lead us to our first bad or ugly, depending on the weather and what season you visit. The summer weather is usually pretty good, hot and sunny, exactly what you'd expect, but you can get the occasional nasty rainstorm. But come fall, it's anyone's game. I visited during Hollow weekend several times, and being on the lake, you get that wind that can shut down the rides, but can also make it frigid cold. My most recent visit, October of 2020, was just abnormal. The Friday we checked in, it was in the 60s. We were in shorts walking around the beach and boardwalk. The next day in the park, it was in the 40s and freezing. So if you plan on visiting in the fall, bring layers, but don't overdo it. You still want to fit on all the rides. Speaking of Hollow weekends, that's another set of good. Weekends from September through October, this park brings out all the spooks, in a good way. Houses, scare zones, spooky shows at night with Haunt. I visited several times for this, and it's my wife's favorite time to visit. I scare easily, but even so, I always have a great time in the houses and the scare zones. And during the day, the Great Pumpkin Festival delights even the littlest visitors with fun activities and photo ops. But that only scratches the surface of the Cedar Point events and festivals. Bruin Barbecue, Cedar Point Nights, Hollow Weekends, oh, and Winter Chill Out for the enthusiast crowd. Maybe I'll get there one day. There's always a different event or festival going on. This leads us into our next good. This place is more than a park. It's a destination. Multiple on-site resorts, the Cedar Point Express Hotel, just off the main road to the park, Lighthouse Point Campground, and the flagship Hotel Breakers on the peninsula. There's also the indoor water park resort Castaway Bay and the Sawmill Creek Golf Course Resort. Got a boat? You can bring it to Cedar Point and stay at their marina. I've personally stayed at Breakers once on my 2020 visit. I thought it was nice. Good modern rooms, and looks like plenty of fun activities during the summer, and, well, not during a pandemic. I'll have to stay again another time, but my wife stayed there a few times. She said it's good. Most of my other trips, I've stayed at one of the many different hotels in the Sandusky area on Milan Road. They're nice, so you always have that option if you're on a budget. So I mentioned Sawmill Creek Golf Resort and Castaway Bay. I've never visited either of these, but these are options for those who like golf over coasters, and something for those looking for a winter getaway. There's also Sports Force Park at Cedar Point, which again, never went to. Drove past it though. From what I've heard, it's used more for tournaments. If you've ever visited either of these, let us know how they are in the comments. There's something for everyone here. That's this place's biggest pro. Like coasters and thrills? Head to the park. Want to splash around and conquer slides? You got the Cedar Point Shores Water Park. Feeling like a beach day? You have the Cedar Point Boardwalk and Beach, which also means access to North Coast parasailing and jet skis. Parasailing with that awesome Cedar Point skyline is something I won't ever forget from my first visit. And my buddy making them dunk me into the lake. Seriously, there's something for everyone here. So what is Cedar Point Shores Water Park all about? First off, could be a bad depending on your point of view. It's a separately gated and ticketed park. Now if you can get past that, it's a plus, because it adds a whole other place to play during your visit. I visited the water park twice in my visits, once on my first visit in 2012 and again in 2016, back when it was known as Soak City. It's a nice park, sweet slides, crazy lazy river with wave machines and other unique features you won't see on the average lazy river. It's a plus for the water park fans, myself included. That being said, I haven't visited since it was rethemed as Cedar Point Shores. Eventually, I'm sure I will, but I can't say how the current experience and offerings are compared to the original. Comment below if you visited since and how it's changed. Here's a bad or ugly depending on the day. It can be jam-packed, like on a Disney level, and you will wait for all the rides unless you buy a fast lane. There's 2 different levels to fast lane, regular and plus. That plus is all the best coasters, so keep that in mind, and the price varies depending on the day. I can almost guarantee you'll need one if you visit on a weekend, like I have on many of my weekend trips. However, in my visits on weekdays, you can get away without them, and the parks are what I'd call fair or average full. So go for a weekday if you can. I've done both, and here's a personal tip. Know what you want to hit, and make a plan for it. It helps no matter the crowds. Well, except on my 2020 visit. That one, like most things with the pandemic, was just weird. The access passes for rides really limited us on what rides we could get through, even when we had 3 of the access passes for the big coasters. The limited hours didn't help us, but we understand and respected the reasoning. We were just honestly happy to get a chance to visit. But the thing that confused us was that its sister park down the state, Kings Island, which we visited a few months earlier, did things so much better and smoother. It really made us question what the heck Cedar Point was doing and if it was the best Cedar Fair park. Alright, enough talking up the surrounding areas for now. On to the main park. The obvious, it's got one of the most epic and talked about roller coaster collections on Earth, and we'll get to that in part 2. But there's more to the point than coasters. I visited with friends and family in every age group, so there's really something for everyone. I can tell you personally how it is going with a crazed enthusiast, with other thrill seekers, with the average fan band, or even with the littler ones. There's 3 kids areas: Planet Snoopy, Camp Snoopy, and Kitty Kingdom. We went with my nephew in 2020, and he loved all the kids stuff in all 3 of the areas. Oh yeah, you can meet the Peanuts gang here too. And all the rides in these areas are themed to Snoopy and the gang. Plus, there's comic strip cutouts that I get a kick out of reading. Camp Snoopy also contains the park's kids coasters, Wilderness Run, Intamin's first ever coaster, and Woodstock Express, a Vekoma Jr. coaster. Woodstock's a great ride to get the little ones ready for the bigger and better. I can tell you that from personal experience. I can't say the same for Wilderness Run. It will be a missed credit for all time. I visited with family who don't normally do crazy rides, and they've enjoyed going on things like the Giant Wheel and Cedar Downs. I've also visited with someone on the Bubble, big enough to ride the big rides, but not quite able to conquer the fear to do so. They've enjoyed things like Dodge 'em and the Lake Erie Eagles. Everyone, though, will enjoy a trip on the Cedar Point and Lake Erie Railroad with visits to Boneville. Not to mention shows like one of my favorites from a 2015 visit, country music show at the Red Garter Saloon, or the nighttime music and dance party on the Celebration Plaza stage. Then the thrill seekers, Power Tower, the Drop Tower and Space Shot, Skyhawk, the Scream and Swing, Max Air, the giant disc pendulum ride, and my personal favorite, Windseeker. I've been on all the Windseekers except for the one now known as Steelhawk at Worlds of Fun, but would've if it would've stayed at Knott's. This one has the best views out of all of them. With the park and the lake, it's one of my personal favorite rides and a picturesque sight. Just like the park at night, it's absolutely beautiful. A lot of the rides have fun lighting packages and keeps the fun going into the night hours. But what about the coasters? Well, that's a story for part 2, where I'll talk about my experiences with every coaster I've ridden at the park, minus Woodstock Express. So keep an eye out for that video. And if you like this video, give it a like and consider subscribing to the channel and leave a comment down below. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you in the parks. And keep an eye out for part 2 coming soon.